In 2007, a troubled teenager from Camano Island captured the attention of millions of people as a fugitive who managed to get away from the police through an adventurous series of escapades involving stolen cars, boats, and even airplanes. Colton Harris-Moore, popularly known as the Barefoot Bandit, became a media sensation and developed a massive online following where some people hailed him as a modern-day folk hero while others condemned his crimes, citing the enormous amount of property stolen from the victims. After 2 years on the run, Harris-Moore was captured in 2010 after crash-landing a stolen plane in the Bahamas. But the question is, how did a teenager manage to pull off a real-life GTA adventure? Colton Harris-Moore came into the world at Skagit Valley Hospital on March 22, 1991, born to Pamela Kohler and Gordon Moore. Unfortunately, his father's battle with substance abuse led to him abandoning the family when Colton was just a toddler, leaving Kohler to raise him alone. They made their home on Camano Island, where financial difficulties meant they lived modestly in a rundown single-wide trailer. Kohler's own struggles with alcoholism created an unstable and sometimes abusive atmosphere. It was in this challenging environment that Colton began to show signs of behavioral issues from a young age. At just 7 years old, Colton Harris-Moore was already seeking escape from his troubled home life, disappearing into the nearby forests for days at a time. To survive, he resorted to breaking into vacation homes, stealing food and camping gears. This is the start of Colton's criminal career. Along the way, he will meet his new partner in crime, Harley-Davidson Ironwing, who will teach Colton a thing or two about burglaries. They decided to work together with a number of burglaries, where Harley will look for cash while Colton is looking for credit cards and laptops. Their ideal target house are vacation homes, because nobody is in there. People like to leave their stuff in vacation homes like money, computers, cars, and other fancy stuff. One day Colton and Harley are driving a stolen 2007 Mercedes-Benz, and every time they took it, they will park it in the garage of the same exact spot, wash the car and fill up the tank. At just 12 years old, he had his first run-in with the law, an indication of darker times ahead. Within a mere year, he was behind bars and juvenile detention, a stark reminder of the dangerous path he was on. Despite attempts at schooling, including a stint at Stanwood Middle School and later Lincoln Hill Alternative School, his disciplinary issues persisted. By 9th grade, he was skipping classes and eventually dropped out altogether. Child Protective Services intervened due to suspected neglect or abuse, resulting in temporary foster care. Cut loose from the school system, Harris-Moore's clashes with the law escalated. After failing to appear in court in 2006, he went into hiding. Deep in the woods of Camano Island, he set up secret camps and continued his spree of burglaries, even dabbling in identity theft. Using stolen credit cards, he bought supplies like food and high-tech gear, including night vision goggles to outsmart law enforcement. Finally apprehended in February 2007 after over 6 months on the run, Harris-Moore faced a laundry list of 23 criminal charges, mostly for residential burglaries, so he struck a deal with prosecutors, pleading guilty to 3 charges, earning himself a 3-year stay at Green Hill School, a high-security juvenile detention center. At Green Hill School, Harris-Moore turned over a new leaf, earning praise for his behavior and later being transferred to the Griffin Home Residential Treatment Center in Renton on February 14, 2008, which is known as a minimum security halfway house that is aimed to reintegrate troubled youths into society. However, skeptics suspected Harris-Moore's obedience with the law was just a strategy for a more favorable escape route. Their suspicions were confirmed 2 months later when he slipped out of an unlocked window on April 29, triggering a felony warrant for his arrest. Back on Camano Island, Harris-Moore resumed his familiar routine of breaking into homes for provisions. This time, authorities were better prepared, launching a vigorous pursuit. Media attention intensified, turning the spotlight on the teenage fugitive. One day, a restaurant had a surveillance video that captured him using their credit card to buy an instructional material on how to fly an airplane, had it shipped into the restaurant, broke into the restaurant that night, and stole the instructional that he ordered so he can teach himself how to fly an airplane while hiding in the forest and vacation homes. The saga reached a peak on July 18, 2008, when sheriff's deputies chased a reckless driver on Camano Island. Abandoning the car, the driver vanished into the woods, leaving behind a bunch of stolen goods like food, driver's licenses, night vision goggles, and a digital camera. Among them was an iconic image of Harris-Moore lying in a forest, staring up at the camera, which quickly went viral. By this time, everyone was talking about him as the Barefoot Bandit, winning over more and more fans online. Facing a lot of pressure, Harris-Moore fled Camano Island for Orcas Island, using a stolen boat. His arrival to Orcas Island sparked a wave of burglaries, provoking the San Juan County Sheriff's Office to take immediate action. The small island community assembled meetings to talk about the escalating break-ins, with suspicion falling squarely on Harris-Moore. On November 12, 2008, Harris-Moore sought to evade the police net closing in on Orcas Island by making a courageous move. He stole a single-engine Cessna 182 airplane from a hangar. Despite lacking any aviation experience, he managed to take off and fly 300 miles east, crash landing on the Yakama Indian Reservation. Evidence inside the cockpit, including footprints, pointed to Harris-Moore as the culprit. It's believed he learned to fly from manuals, DVDs, and countless hours on Microsoft Flight Simulator. The stolen Cessna belonged to Bob Rivers, a well-known radio host on Seattle's KZOK-FM. After the airplane theft, Harris-Moore went on a spree, snatching cars and running between destinations like Reno, Sacramento, and Eastern Washington. As he evaded capture, Island County prosecutors piled on 10 charges, ranging from identity theft to illegal flight. Throughout the summer and well into the fall of 2009, he maintained his island-hopping routine. Then, on September 11, 2009, he made his move, pilfering a Cirrus SR-22 from the San Juan Island Public Airport and touching down on Orcas Island. From there, he commandeered a boat and set sail for Point Roberts. His spree continued across British Columbia until it reached its climax in Bonners Ferry, northern Idaho. On September 29, 2009, he breached a Bonners Ferry airplane hangar, making away with a Cessna 182, his third stolen aircraft. Despite intending to land on Camano Island, the plane's fuel ran dry, leading to a dramatic crash landing near Granite Falls. Police discovered footprints at the Idaho hangar where he stole the plane. When questioned, his mother expressed a mix of pride and resignation, saying she had considered sending him to flight school. A couple of musicians in British Columbia met Colton after their car broke down, where Colton asked if he can have a ride. Not knowing who Colton was, they went on a road trip, smoked some greens, relaxed in a campfire, and spent the night. One of the musicians even gave him some lunch and a few cash before dropping him off in the number 3 highway. A woman from Granite Falls got a text message from her mom that a plane crashed near their house and asked if she saw any actions about it. Then she noticed that there are some food missing from their fridge. Their passport are missing, so the woman's husband's instinct is to check their windows and doors. And sure enough, one of the doors has been opened with a crowbar, and they decided to call 4. So they shut off the lights, turned off the car, and stood out there quietly, and waited until they suddenly heard something, like a snapping of sticks, or crunch of leaves about a little bit far away. That's when they started moving towards that direction looking for Colton. Colton was a little bit far from the majority of his supplies when the police is eventually going near him, so he decided to leave the supplies and continued moving away from the cops. They retrieved a bag full of money estimated to be $20,000. Homeland Security deployed Black Hawk helicopter equipped with sophisticated tracking technologies. On October 2, 2009, a fresh felony warrant was issued for Harris-Moore's arrest, followed by a federal warrant 2 months later, stemming from the Bahamas ferry airplane theft. By then, he was the prime suspect in roughly 100 thefts spanning Washington, Idaho, and Canada, predominantly involving vehicles, aircraft, and boats. Undeterred by mounting charges, he seized another Cirrus SR-22 from Anacortes Airport on February 10, 2010, touching down on Orcas Island. The next day, he struck Homegrown Grocery, swiping over $1,000 and leaving behind a signature trail of chalk-drawn feet, complete with a cheeky farewell message. "See ya." With the FBI and DHS hot on his trail, Harris-Moore found himself at the center of a high-stakes manhunt. Coast Guard vessels patrolled the waters, while a Black Hawk helicopter scoured the skies. Despite the dragnet, he slipped away to San Juan Island, then navigated a stolen boat back to Camano Island. The FBI even offered a $10,000 reward for his capture. On May 31, 2010, a surprising gesture surfaced. A handwritten note and $100 were discovered at a veterinary clinic in Raymond, signed by none other than the Barefoot Bandit. It urged the use of the cash for animal care, showcasing a peculiar blend of criminality and compassion. In June 2010, Harris-Moore evaded the intense police presence in Washington, embarking on a cross-country journey in stolen vehicles, reaching as far as Illinois. On July 4, 2010, a Cessna vanished from an airport in Bloomington, Indiana, sparking immediate suspicion that Harris-Moore was behind the theft. His aim was Cuba, known for its lack of extradition agreements with the U.S. Using his flying skills, he managed to fly the plane to the Bahamas, but crashed near Great Abaco Island. Despite the rough landing, he sought refuge in a nearby fishing village, surviving by pilfering food from local stores and restaurants for several days. After several days, Colton was caught on July 11, 2010 just before sunrise at Harbor Island, in the Bahamas. With help from locals, the Bahamian police closed in on the notorious fugitive after he got stuck on a sandbar while fleeing in a stolen boat. In a tense moment, Colton fired a warning shot in the sky, and the authorities started shooting the engine of his stolen boat to completely disable Colton's boat from moving, which persuaded him to give up and face the consequences. A couple of days passed since Colton's arrest, and he was transported from Nassau, Bahamas, to Miami, and then to the Federal Detention Center in SeaTac, where he remained for 2 years, facing a slew of charges at various levels of the government. Sentenced to 7 years in state prison and an additional 6 by Island County Court, he appeared in Federal District Court in Seattle on January 27, 2012. The judge urged him to chart a new course in life, sentencing him to 6 years behind bars. Expressing genuine remorse, Harris-Moore pledged to pursue a career as an aeronautical engineer upon release. His sentences were merged, and he was moved to the Stafford Creek Correction Center in Aberdeen to begin serving his time. Shortly after his incarceration, he sold the rights to his life story to 20th Century Fox for $1.4 million. all of which went towards compensating his victims as part of his sentencing terms. On September 2, 2016, Colton Harris-Moore, at the age of 25, walked out of prison on probation. He landed a part-time clerical job with John Henry Brown, the very attorney who had defended him in court. Fast forward to May 2019, and Harris-Moore emerged for his last known public appearance. In an interview with KTTH 770 in Seattle, he reflected on his life, reminiscing about his first unforgettable flight in 2008 when he piloted a stolen Cessna. His words painted a picture of a lifelong obsession with aviation, capturing the essence of a fleeting moment of pure fulfillment. But despite his past, Harris-Moore harbored doubts about his future. Since that interview, he completed his probation, fading into obscurity, erasing all digital traces of his existence. His whereabouts today remain a mystery, leaving behind a tale of a troubled youth striving to find his place in a world that may never truly understand him.